we will, I think I put the link to that at the very last slide here that I'm going to show you. We are going to be hosting professional development every Tuesday, starting at 4 o'clock. It's going to be, the format's about a half hour of training and then half-hour question and answer, which might be on the same topic and might not, depending on what's necessary. So check the calendar, or using your calendar for time management is what Christina Hum's going to be presenting next week. So you can check out the calendar, and you'll want to find our website and make sure that you bookmark that so you know how to get there. And if you have any other questions or would like to present for us, then you can use that email at the bottom of your screen. Any questions on that so far? Alrighty then. So we're going to start out with organizing your Google Drive. And I chose this topic to begin with because it really is kind of your drive is really the heart. For me, it's the heart of all of my Google happenings. And it's where I can go to find all of my files, and I can also access all my apps from here, just like I can from Calendar and all, but it really is the heart. And when I very first began, I just started creating files, and pretty soon I ended up with a whole mess of files that need to be organized. So when they did bring out folders, I was super happy about that. But I still have kind of a mess. It's a little bit better now. Actually, it's quite a bit better than it used to be. And I've talked to a lot of people that have run into the same situation. Maybe they started using it without getting some kind of organization system in mind. So that's why we're starting with Google Drive. Thinking about your own Google Drive organization. I'm seeing kind of one end or the other, or somewhere in between that's working for you. So if you would use a word or two to describe the organization of your Google Drive, and I say here, type it in the chat, but because I can't see the chat right now, maybe you could share that with me, or somebody could share what people are putting in the chat.
I put bird nest.
Ah, that's a really good image.
I think mine is a combo of all three pictures you have listed there.
Some parts are really super organized, some are a mess, somewhere in between.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That's the same with mine. If it's student files, I am so meticulous and have all the work they've submitted like organized, but personal stuff is a mess.
Yes. Yeah. And I kind of see those as being like that middle ground. You know, all those mailboxes, they're pretty cool, and they're, you know, pretty organized. You can find which one belongs to which, but yet they're not exactly like all those beautiful colored notebooks and sitting in a row on a shelf. So I kind of think mine's a middle ground too. Chelsea, you said the same thing, right? And as Laura. All right, so let's keep on going a little bit. We're going to talk about what your Google Drive is. Pretty sure those of you that are on the call right now pretty much know what your Google Drive is. But for those watching the recording, your Google Drive is your personal storage space for your digital files. You have free storage, whether you have a personal account or a school domain account. In this space, in your drive, you can have Google Docs and sheets and forms, and you can also have PDFs, Word files, pages, numbers, PowerPoint, any of those. So any of those files can be stored in your Google Drive. The Word, pages, Excel, those kinds of things, you can store in your Google Drive just exactly as they are, keeping the same formatting and using the same extension. Like, for instance, Word is doc, I think. Now I've forgotten what that is. But anyway, you could also choose to, when you upload them to your Google Drive, you can choose to have them converted to Google Docs. So Word and Pages can be converted to Google Docs, and Excel can be converted to the sheets. You get to choose that, however you want to do that.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in and just say a word of caution because we were doing our handbook, our student handbook on this, and somebody had put it in as a Word doc, and then we all pretty much transferred it into put it in as a Word, and then we all transferred it to a Google Doc. Well, somebody didn't make that transfer, and they were making comments on the Word doc, like the frozen Word doc. And then when we said, no, that's not where you do it. You open it in the doc, in Google Doc, it erased all her comments.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah, so I just say that to say, because one person did a whole lot and another person was about to do it and we stopped them. So I just say that to save the heartache of, you can use it and comment on it, but as soon as you open it, everything disappears. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, she had about an hour of commenting that was lost, and I would never want that happen to anybody else. She was about to cry. So It's great, but make sure you don't comment unless you aren't going to open it. So that's all I was going to say. It was rough.
Yeah, and Google actually has recently, I'm not exactly sure on all their terminology, but they've made it so that you can actually edit Word files in Google Drive now. And so I wonder if that would have caused or kind of prevented that problem too.
Yeah.
The other word of caution too is when you do convert it, sometimes you lose the formatting. So you do have to be real careful with that. But what I found is I convert it, and if it looks way off, then, I just throw that one away and keep my original file. So, there are some things to think about if you're not using Google Apps. In Google Drive, you can also create your Google files. It's just an easy place to go to create them, and it helps with your organization. So that's why I wanted to make sure you knew about that part. Also, you can open and edit whatever Google files you have in there. And now, like I mentioned, Word, you can edit in Google Drive. And you can also share your files from within your drive without actually going inside the files themselves. So if you have something you don't want to open it all the way up, you just know who you want to share it with or how you want to share it, you can do that from Google Drive. So on today's agenda, I just want to kind of go over this with you because I'm going to take you out to my drive and we'll take a look and go just on my page from there. So we're not probably coming back to the presentation to the very last slide maybe. But what I'm thinking we're going to be covering today is understanding the layout of Drive and looking at that left navigation sidebar a little closer and thinking about the different features on there. Those are shared with me, recent, starred, trash, and then we're going to jump back up to the very top and talk about my drive. And then we're going to go over some tips for organizing your drive, and then maybe talk a little bit about search and advanced search in case you need to find something that you can't find before you get it organized. So that's about all that I was thinking we would cover today. So I am going to go ahead, hit escape, and get out of my presentation mode. And I'm going to go to my drive. Now, the way that I typically do that is go to my URL bar and type in drive.google.com. Another way you can get there is to go to that waffle. If you're in your Gmail or anything like that, you can go to your little waffle in the top right and open that. I have my drive in the very top corner because it's one I use very often. And in case you didn't know, you can move these around by clicking and dragging those. So that way you can organize all of these apps in the way that makes the most sense for you. So now when we hit into my drive, you see that mine is set up so that I'm looking at it in a grid view. That doesn't necessarily work for everybody. If you go over to the right, this little icon that's underneath the gear, the settings icon, and click on that, you can look at your drive in list view. So this way you get to personalize it the way that you want to look at it, list view or grid view. Now, if you're in list view, you have more options of the way you view your files. So you can click on, if you click on last modified, or actually I'm just hovering over that, I can change that to any of those other options. And if I click on the name, I can change it to go from Z to A or A to Z. So you're always, no matter whether you're looking in the grid view or in the list view, you're always going to see your folders first. Well, here's all my folders, and then you'll see the individual files after that. So in this list view, they just start right away. Now I'm going to change this back to grid view. Excuse me. And so you see my folders up in this section, but now I have a little title here that says files. So it's just grouped a little bit differently. So now I can see here's all my files, individual files, which would be my slides, docs, sheets, forms, any of those that I do not have in my folders. So what I'm going to want to do is I have tons of these. I probably have hundreds of files that are not even organized. And every now and then I just go in here and I organize a little bit. And I trash the ones I don't want anymore and I put them in folders. So mine was such a big mess that I just kind of do it a little bit at a time. And so, you know, that works. That works for me. If you are in grid view, you really only have the choice to organize these from A to Z or Z to A. So if I click on this, it'll change it to Z to A. Notice that all of the folders go Z to A, and then all of the files will go Z to A. So the files and the folders are not mixed in together. Okay? At the very, very top, you're going to find your quick access. Now, if you don't have that, it's because in your settings, and I'm going to go over here, and if you don't like that, I'll show you where you can change that. Go over to your settings, your gear icon, go into settings, and then down at the very bottom where it says suggestions, and sorry, if you're not in general on the left, you need to be in general. Suggestions, it says make relevant files handy when you need them in quick access. These are the last files that you've been working on, or the last files that you've opened, even if you didn't do anything in it, but if you opened, that's going to be in your quick access right there at the top. Now, while we're here, I also want to show you that this is where you can choose to convert uploaded files to Google Docs. If you do not want to do that automatically, then you can deselect that and it will not do it automatically. It used to be much easier to choose as there was a choice where it said ask. They took away that option, but I really would love to have that option back. And if we do, as you mentioned, Hannah, if we ask Google and say, hey, this is something that we miss, hopefully they'll put it back because they're pretty responsive to educators. But this, you have to have it either on or off. So if I'm uploading a Word doc and I know that I need to keep it as a Word doc, I need to remember to come in my settings first and deselect this. So I'm going to go out of here and take a look at this again. These are the last 6 files that I opened. Actually, and all of them I opened today. So if you don't like that, just deselect that suggestion box. So any questions about this part of the organizations or any other tips that I didn't mention about this part? All right, then. So what we're going to do now is just take a little bit closer look at the left over here, because there's some treasures over here. And if you're not, you don't really, like if you're if you're like me and you just kind of ignore some things sometimes, it's right here. So we're going to skip my drive over here to the left right away. And we're going to go down with shared with me. This confuses a lot of people. If I click on shared with me, these are all the docs, all the files, folders, everything that other people have shared with me. I do not own these. I cannot delete these. I don't want to even mess with these. So I can just Oh, hey, Cheryl, I see you peeking back there in my other window. I cannot do anything with these other than make a shortcut. And I highly suggest, this is what I found that I really need to do. When someone shares something with me, I need to file it right away. Otherwise, I'll go to look for it in my drive and then I can't find it. And I've forgotten that, oh, it was shared with me. And now I have to go there and look for that unless I just do my search. But the way that you are going to file this, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, you just right click on that file and move it to add shortcut to drive. Now, this used to say add to my folder, add to a folder, or add to my drive, something like that. But now it's they're very clear saying add shortcut to drive. And if I click on this, it allows me to navigate through my folders. Here's my drive. And I can find the folder that I want to put it in. And
Because you're saying the difference between add it to my drive. If I hear add it to my drive, that means make a copy for myself and put it in my drive. Whereas you're saying a shortcut in my drive means it stays live. Like, let's say that handbook I was talking about. If we had it, I don't want to make a copy. I want to keep it live, but I want to put it in another folder. Is that what you're saying? That's the difference, right? Okay.
Yeah. And so if somebody else owns that, it's a shortcut back to theirs. So here's the difference between making a copy and just creating a shortcut there. If you make a copy, it's a new file completely. So if you've got team members working on the original one, none of their changes are going to show up on your copy.
Yeah.
So you only want to copy if you know that you're not, and then it's not shared. Actually, it's not even shared with anybody else till you share it.
Like you're at a conference. That's what I tend to do that most of the conference. If they share something and then I put it in my own folder, I just want my own copy so that I can use it later and I don't mess with their original. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's what you can do and shared with me. But other than that, I wouldn't do anything else. You can't really organize them. You can put that so there's a shortcut in your folder, which makes sense to you. But other than that, we're just going to let that go. So once you start to navigate through your drive, if I say, oh, I want this in my apps folder, but I don't see a folder within my apps folder, I can create a new folder right here. And then once I create it, I'm going to just leave it as untitled. I check this blue checkbox right here. And now I can add the shortcut to that folder that I just made. Okay, so you can do all that right from within that right click and add the shortcut. Okay, so your recent, this lists your files that you've used in the order that you've opened them. So you can see today I've been really busy in Google and I've had a lot of files open. And yesterday and then earlier this week, last week, it really helps me if I'm looking for something specific and for whatever reason, with a simple search, I can't find it. So recent just orders it in chronological order, starting with today, going backwards. Now, starred, this is something that I haven't used very much yet, but starred is if you star a folder or a file, then you're saying, hey, this is just special right now, and I want to see it real quickly. So if I star it, I can put it, it shows up in my starred. So if I click, if I right click and find this, let's see, remove from starred right here, right about in the center. So I have this one already starred, that's why it's showing up. I can remove it from my starred. So say that project is over and you want to remove it from your starred. Or if you're in a classroom, you have all your files from this year starred, then you can unstar them at the end, however you want to do that. I don't use that one too much because I use search all the time, and that usually works for me. So now underneath starred is your trash. So when you actually trash a folder, something that you don't want anymore, and you say, or a folder or a file, and you say remove, that puts it in the trash, but it doesn't necessarily get rid of it till you empty your trash. So if I go on here, if I notice that I click this file right here, so it's selected, it's blue, now the little trash can showed up here. So if I click on that, now I can delete it forever. Then it doesn't take up any space on your hard drive. I didn't want to do that because I happened to click on something. I think I want to double check before I delete that one forever. But it's not, it doesn't have to be gone forever because Google is very kind to us. And there is a way to contact them and give them your account username, and they will recover your files for you. They do not they don't care which one you're looking for. They recover all of them. So be careful when you do that. I've done that recently, and they just throw everything back in there. And I only did that because I wasn't sure. I was experimenting. So now I've got a whole lot more in here. And I saw something once that they are in there for about 30 days and then they go away. Let's see what this little clock says. Oh, so now I can and I don't think I told you that, but obviously if you click on one that you want to get back, you can get this little clock going the wrong way, counterclockwise, and restore it from trash. So you can get it back into your drive if it's in your trash. Okay. Any questions about those so far? All right, I'm going to go back over on the left. Underneath trash, you'll find storage. And this just gives you information. If I click on that, it gives you information about what do I have in here that's taking up so much room. And it lists it from the largest file down to the bottom file. So I can see that I'm almost at 8 gigabytes here of 15 in my personal account. And if I want to buy storage, if I click on here, it shows me even more information. Here's your plans that you can get. But then you can even, well, let's see, when I was here yesterday, there was, right up here, toward the top. You have to scroll up, I guess. It tells you where you've used most of your storage. So mine's in Drive. I don't use Gmail very much, and I don't use Google Photos very much. Just started using those. And then this also helps you to just kind of see how storage is figured by Google. If you have like docs and forms and sheets in there, it doesn't count against your space. So it's real interesting to kind of go through all that. So that's all about all the left side, except for this create button, this new, and our My Drive. So new, if you click on that, I'm sure you already know that this is where you can create a new file. However, if I do this, and I'm going to get myself back in my drive by clicking on this left drive right here. If I click right here, I can add a new folder to my drive. That works. But if I say I want a new Google Doc, it's just going to put it in my drive. And one thing to help yourself stay organized is first navigate to the folder where you want to store it. Then create your doc. So if I know I want to put another file in ASDN and I want to do it in this folder right here, I'm going to go all the way inside that. Then I am going to say I want a new folder or Google Doc. I'm going to upload a file into this folder. So if you will navigate to where you want it, then you don't have to go back later and put it in another folder. That, once I started doing that, that has helped me so much. All right, I'm going to open this little left triangle here on my drive because now, and I'm going to make sure my main page is back in my drive. I'm using the breadcrumbs. I went back to my drive. Notice that what I see on the left now is the same thing I see in the middle. When you're organizing, you want to open up that folder over on the left, because then you can just drag this into whichever one you want. So you don't have to actually go to this file, right click, and say I want to move this to, notice it's got the folder with the arrow, I want to move this to, and then navigate through all of these to find where I want it. That takes a long time. But if you can click over here from the right and drag it to the folder you want it in, so much faster. So much faster. Something else that can be really helpful for you too is that your folders and your files, you know you've named those. And you may have a naming system, some kind of a naming convention. And it's really helpful if you keep that very consistent. So if you're in the classroom and you have several classes, then you want to maybe put the year first, and then the subject, and then the period, something like that. If you keep that consistent, then it will, because it puts, Google Drive puts your folders and files in alphabetical order, it makes it easier to find what you're looking for. So if you keep that naming convention consistent, it really helps. Let's see. Oh, and I was going to tell you about the details, because you can add more than that title. You don't have to have some big long title to make sure you know exactly what this file is. So if I click on this, I'm going to do a right click here, and then I'm going to go to get information. Let's see. View details right here. If I click on view details, it opens up a panel in the right, and it gives me the information about the last time it was open, the last time it was modified, when it was created. But look at this little edit pencil right here. If I click on this, I can also add more of a description in here. So if you ever need to add more description, so you know what was this folder all about and why do I still have this in my drive, it's possible that having that extra little note will make a difference and help you out. So you want to go to details and go down here to where it allows you to write more details. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get out of this informational box just by clicking the X. Let's see. Since we've used the right click, let's take a couple of other looks at the other possibilities here. I talked about sharing your files and your folders from here without having to open up. This is how you do it in the right click menu. This right click menu gets you everything you need here. So if you click on share, you can share that right here. You don't have to go all the way in the file or open up the folder or anything. I can also, this is where, and so share is where you're going to share it with specific people. Get shareable link is where you can get that shareable link too. Now, I've covered most of those. If you need to rename that file, this is where you're going to go. It just allows you to rename that folder or that file. But here's the change color. How many of you guys have been using color? Anybody? Yeah. So color is just fun. I kind of sort of use it for organization. If I were still in the classroom, I probably would a lot more, because I had everything that had to do with science was green and everything that had to do with math was blue. So that really helped me organize in that way. Right now, I can, so for instance, I'm going to change this color to orange because this was a school district. So this is my orange is any folders that I have for trainings that I've done in school districts. So what I'm going to do now is take this one and go over to my school districts, right down, where are they? Where's my school districts? Okay, I won't panic right now. I'll go find that later. But it should be orange, I think. Oh, I know why. Because I put an icon here. So I was playing with this. So I'm going to go take this and put it right over here. I love the idea of using icons, but I just wanted to show you how it makes it look a lot more fun. But if you put an icon at the beginning, it's going to move that up in your list. It's going to come before the A's in alphabetical order. So what I actually would rather do, so that I can have the icon just because it's cool, I'm going to go rename, and I'm going to take that icon and copy it, delete it here, and I'm just going to put it at the back and say okay. So now I have the cool icon, but it doesn't interfere with my ABC order, because for me, the ABC order works the best. So the way that I got those icons, are you guys all familiar with emojipedia.org, or sorry, .com? If you go to Emojipedia, and there's some other ones, there's like copy paste character, .com, I think is what it is. You can go in and you can find all of the emojis that you've ever dreamed of. And it will also kind of give you a little history on that. What does that emoji usually mean? And it will show you, for instance, if you do a heart, it will say, here's what an Apple heart usually looks like. Here's what a Microsoft heart usually looks like, what a Google heart usually looks like. So you can get those icons there, and they act just like text. They are text characters. So when you put special symbols, like up here where I have hashtag AKEdChat, that goes in front of the A's. And any little icons go in front of the A's. So you can see I have these 3 folders here before my A's start. So those are just some fun things. Now, you can use the emojis also to help with your organization. So for instance, if you're taking a lot of classes right now and you use the same emoji for the different classes. So if you're doing online teaching right now, you can use an emoji for all of your files and all of your folders that have to do with that one class. And then if you're taking another class and it's maybe on computer science right now, then you can have another emoji for that, and you can kind of categorize everything. If that works for you, then that's just another way. So color coding and emojis. Also, you can use numbers too. So if you want your folders to be in a certain way, organized way. So let's say I want my code.org folder to always come first here. Let's see if I rename this, but I don't remember if 1 comes before characters or not. So I'm going to put 1 here. So the characters come first and then my 1 right here. So you can kind of play with that with numbers, special characters like the hashtag, and your emojis. Those all come before A's. So you can use those to order your folders if you want them something in another way than alphabetical. Questions on that so far? So far, so good? I don't see the chat, and we don't have very many people, so you can just say so. And I think one other tip that I had for organizing here is you can change the owner of a file. So if you're sharing, Cheryl and I share a lot of files. If there's something, and this is probably not likely because I'm more apt to keep something longer than she is. I'm more of a hoarder than she is. So if we're sharing something, she started it and she says, I don't want this anymore. And I said, no, I want that. I want that. You actually can change the owner on that. So when you go to share a folder or share something, there is a little advanced link. If you click on that advanced link, it lets you change it to not just editor or viewer or collaborator. It allows you to change it to owner. So that way you can get that, you can delete it then after you change the owner. You don't have to have it in your drive anymore. Because you can delete folders that are shared with you. And I think just another little thing too, you guys that are here probably already know this, but if you just take your mouse and hover over some of these little buttons, it will tell you what they do. So you can just take your mouse over and see, and just let it sit there for a second, and it'll tell you what they do. So that kind of helps you get to know the layout and all the different things you can do better. So then the other thing I wanted to show you, just in case your drive is such a mess, it's taking you a really long time to organize, and that's okay because a lot of us are there. You really want to make sure you use advanced search. So search is super easy. You can make sure, like when you click in this text field right here, I can right now pull up all my spreadsheets, anything that's a spreadsheet. But now that's still too much, right? So if I click on survey, I need a spreadsheet that has the word survey. I can narrow that down. Now, this little right triangle over here, though, lets you have some more options. So here is a little drop-down menu. I can choose whichever folder I want, and I can choose who owns this. So if I know that it's something that Laura shared with me, then I can say that this is not owned by me, or I can say it's a specific person. So even if I don't remember who shared it with me, I can say not owned by me. I can also say, maybe I have a folder that has 100 files in it, and I don't want to look through all those. I can say it's in a particular file. Or I know somebody shared it with me. I don't know who. I can choose where that's going to be. Could even be in the trash. Could be in my start files. So you can select those as well. Also, if you know the last time you modified it, or approximately the last time, that is another filter that's really helpful. You can put part of the name in, as you saw me do with the survey. If I know who I shared it with, I can use that. So there's just so many ways you can filter this down to find what's in your mess of a drive. So I have hundreds of files that I have not organized. And sometimes this is how I find them. Also, this is how I need to find files that were shared with me a lot of the time, because it took me a long time to figure out, oh, I need to file that right now. And if I will file it in a folder right now, then it's so much easier. So that's kind of all that I had for you. I hope that there was something that you got out of it. I know most of you, all of you, have used Google a lot. So did you have anything to add to that?
I was thinking of something as you were talking, which is what happens to me. But so I have old documents that students made, like it's nothing confidential. But is there a way I could put, like they're still in the school system, if I could make them the full owner and get it off a drive without deleting it? You see what I'm saying?
Do they have a Google account?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I would try that is owner. Make them the owner of that.
And I forget how you do that on Drive.
But so let's go do that. Let's go take, I'm going to take this because I don't mind playing with this. I don't really need this one anymore.
And I mine.
Oh, that one's not even mine though. I need something that's mine. Hold on one second. Let me try to, I need to clear my results here. Let's just go back to my drive, clicking on that little drive in the left top corner. So here's my notes for this. And let's say I want to share this. I can go down.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
See, so I'm the owner right here. But if I share this with, well, I know, here's Cheryl right at the top. So I'll share this with Cheryl. See where it says editor here? I don't have that choice. I don't have the choice right here. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and
see, I think Tammy,
Yeah.
don't you have to share it with them first, and then after you share it with them, then you can make them an owner, but they have to be shared first.
That makes sense.
So I just shared that one. And now if I go back and I click on Cheryl, there it is.
Okay.
So now I go down to make owner. So they just changed this, they changed the whole sharing thing recently. It used to be right down in the bottom corner, there was something that said advanced, and you click on that and it would let you choose it to owner. But now, yeah, you have to make them, I knew you have to make them an owner or a sharer first, but then you have to go back in and make them owner. Yeah.
Okay.
So you could try that with them. The other thing that is a really good idea of things to do, if you see, like I have this folder called conferences, and this is older than last year. So I really only want my conference notes from the last year, like so from 2019 or 2018-19 or 2019-20 year. I can put a lot of my other folders and files in that one, and it just takes up so much less space. I also have one called completed projects. So in my completed projects, I have a lot of other really old, and Cheryl will probably say, throw that stuff away. I know, right? You probably threw all yours away already, but I'm just horrible about that. So another thing you can do as a classroom teacher too, or working in school district, you can also create at the very end of your year, create a folder that says 2020-21, or sorry, 2019-20 school year, and then put all your folders from that year in that one folder. And then you don't have that taking up too much space, all those folders taking up too much space. But if you know that you had something, you can go back and find it because you had it from last year, or maybe you had it from 2 years ago when you were teaching third grade and not fifth grade. So that's another idea on ways to organize too. But I'd love to hear your ideas. Do you have others?
No, I just know that I'll Google a topic and then I search for something and I'm like, oh, this child's in high school. Like, I don't need his paragraph on this.
Right.
And I also kind of feel weird about it. Like, I almost want to make it at the end of the school year where they take their stuff away from Google Drive. Does that make sense?
Yes. And there is a way you can do that. Like especially if they graduate, your domain admin, and you guys might know about this more than I do, but I know that the domain admin can take all of their files and folders and everything from their Google account within the school domain, and they can transfer that to a personal Google account. So some districts will say, okay, seniors, if you want all of your files from school, give me your new Google account, and then they can transfer all of that for them.
Cool.
The same thing when teachers move.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was just going to say, Eric Kurtz, who's a Google innovator, just came out with a really awesome video that explains how like teachers and students could do that on their own without having to bug the Google admin as well. So that's a really cool video if somebody wants to learn how to do that.
Oh, that's handy. Yeah. Cool. All right. If you don't have any great ideas, then Chelsea, I think we're finished. I was going to share one last slide with you here. You guys are all members already, so you don't need the link of the Google group, but I put that link right down there and information on how you can get a hold of me if you have specific questions. But the Google group is, that's our collective brains, right? So that's going to be your best bet at getting a variety of answers at many different times.
All right, thank you so much, Tammy. And thanks, guys, for problem solving those technical difficulties with me. We didn't know them, but now we do. And hopefully, we will be able to get that taken care of so more people can get into our next session.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks,
Thank
Lee.
you.
Bye.